good morning and salam sejahtera to our lecturer Sir Fahmi. I am Vanessa along with my three other friends, Adam, Aisyah and Anis. We are from group 21 and today we are going to present our survey report, which is factors that influence customers' demand behavior. The introduction to the survey. Factors that influence customers' demand behavior. In this survey, we study to identify and obtain data information regarding the theory of consumer behavior in bracket consumer choice. There are 15 respondents answered 14 questions, including Part A, Part B, and Part C.
Hi, I'm Aisyah Syazwani, number matric 289711. I want to explain about the concept or theory of the consumer demand and consumer behavior. There are many definitions of consumer, such as from Kotler 1994 said, consumer behavior is the study about how people buy, what they buy, and when they buy. Besides that, from the Solomon et al. 1195 described consumer buying behavior is a process of choosing, purchasing, using, and disposing of products or services by the individual or groups in order to satisfy their needs and wants. Nature of consumer divided by 9 categories, which is influenced by various factors like marketing products, individual characteristics, psychology aspect. Next, undergoes a constant change like depending nature of the good and undergoes change of time. Besides that, it varies from consumer to consumer, varies from variety region and country. Information of consumer behavior is important to the marketers, leads to purchase decision, varies from product to product, improve standard of living and reflect status. Now, I want to share about the demand. In economic, demand is referred to how many individuals are willing and able to pay a certain price of the products. Law of demand is the price of an item is equivalent to the amount demanded. Like when price increase, the demand decrease because consumer afraid of spending more and more money on their purchases. The law of demand curve is relationship between demand and price. Shift in the demand curve because of the consumer income, consumer trends, expectation of future, price of substitute, number of potential buyers, and expectation of the future price.
My name is Nur Anis Amira binti Rosli, my metric number 289982. Next, we go to the objective of this survey. There are the following objectives. The first one is to analyze the role of consumer demand behavior. Second, to analyze the ability or willingness of consumer to buy a particular product. Third, to analyze the percentage of demand by a consumer that affect the price. Next, we go to the methodology of this survey. This survey is relevant to obtain the opinion customer based on the factor that influence their demand behavior. It is also defined as a willingness and ability of a consumer to purchase several goods and services in a given period, or at a given simply being willing to make a purchase does not form an effective demand. And also, willingness must be supported by the ability to pay the product what they are buying. Next, the method of collection that we use in this survey. On this survey, we use measurement method. The questionnaire used for this survey was composed 3 main parts, which Part A, Part B, and Part C. The first part, which is Part A, include question to collect respondent background detail, which is gender, ethnic, and age. The second and third part, which is Part B and Part C, to know how much percentage and consumer choice based on their product they will buy. Respondent must take one answer to each statement that is the best described based on Respondent opinion. The Likert scale range from 1, which is strongly disagree, until 5, which is strongly agree, was used to collect the response from respondents.
Before I proceed, my name is Vanessa John with matrix number 289996, and I will be presenting our analysis and data collection. The first part of this questionnaire is respondent background. In this part, customers will be answering questions about their background, which is gender, ethnicity, and age. So the first question in this part is gender. Gender or sex is one question respondent will see in almost all surveys. Believe it or not, a person's gender can have a huge effect on their way of thinking, thus majorly affecting the result of the survey. So, from this question, there are 6 males and 9 females that have answered this questionnaire, and the total number of the person that answered is 15 respondents. The second question is about respondent ethnicity. From the questionnaire, 11 respondents are Malay, 1 Chinese, 1 Indian, and 3 respondents are from other ethnicity. Adding in ethnicity survey question can enable a researcher to determine promotions or pricing and sort respondent groups based on their needs and interests. Finally, the third question in this part is age. Mostly respondents of this survey are below 30 years old. We result 12 respondents, 2 respondents aged around 31 to 40, and 1 respondent aged around 41 to 50. This enables us to really compare and contrast the age difference between our respondents. Moving on to the next part in this survey is part B, the consumer behavior, part 1. The first statement is, I prefer to purchase goods or products depending on their brands. From the result of the questionnaire, we could observe that 60% of the respondents choose moderate, 20% of the respondents agree, and there are 13% of them disagree, and only 7% strongly agree to purchase goods and products depending on their brands. This result shows that brands matter the most to consumer. When consumer trust a brand, it makes them loyal, and when they are loyal, they buy more. This is certainly a good result. It's the safe and predictable choice because consumers know what they want to expect. The second statement is, even if the price is high, I am glad if I can buy branded goods. This question allows us to simply observe the general attitude of the respondent towards branded goods, so as to know whether they are willing to buy branded goods even if the price is high. From the answer of the respondents, 60% of the respondents choose moderate, 20% of them agree, 13% disagree, and 7% of the respondents strongly agree with the statement. The popularity of branded goods among consumer is not enough unless the consumer get a good job with a high salary or have developed fantastic personal saving habits. Buying luxury consumer goods can create an undue financial burden. For the third statement, we investigated whether the respondent will increase their purchases if their income rises. This question allows us to better understand either income that affect demand of goods. The question is, if my income rises, I will increase my purchases of goods. Assumption of ceteris paribus. According to the survey result, 53 of the respondents choose moderate, 27% agree, 13% disagree with this statement, and only 7% of the respondents will increase their purchases of goods if their income rises. This can explain that the income effect is a part of the consumer choice theory, which relates preferences to consumption, expenditures, and consumer demand curve that expresses how changes in relative market prices and incomes impact consumption patterns for consumer goods and services. The fourth question of our questionnaire is, if the price of goods is low, I will increase my purchases. Assumption of ceteris paribus. According to the fourth question in our survey results, 34% choose moderate. In more detail, 33% of the respondents agree to the statement, 20% strongly disagree, and 13% disagree with the statement. This means that the decrease in the relative price of the good will result in an increase in quantity demanded, both because the good is now cheaper than substitute goods and because the lower price means that consumers have a greater total purchasing power and can increase their overall consumption. Fifth question is, I prefer to buy goods online rather than in person, and based on the statistic, there are 40% moderately buy goods online rather than in person. In contrast, only 20% of the respondents believe that buying goods online is basically ineffective. At the same time, 13% of the respondents strongly disagree with the statement. In my opinion, people chose to shop over the internet because it is more convenient than going to a physical store, especially during this COVID-19. Finally, the last question, which is another statement: purchasing goods online is more convenient and cost effective. This question mainly focuses on the respondent's view on online purchase, allowing us to learn more about the advantages and disadvantages of online purchase. We can clearly see that 52% of the respondents believe that purchasing goods online is more convenient and cost effective. In addition, there are 20% of the respondent is moderate and another 20% respondents disagree with this statement. And the most convenient aspect of the internet is its time-saving nature, making online shopping perfect for those individuals whose busy lifestyles prevent them from visiting the high streets on a regular basis.
Hi, my name is Hakimi bin Asmi. My matrix number is 288188. And I'm going to present part C, which is about consumer behavior 2. Okay, for the first question, if the price of good A falls by 50%, I will purchase it. Based on this graph, most of the respondents will purchase good A if the price of good A falls by 50%, because the chart shows that 60% of them agree and 20% of them strongly agree. Referring to the law of demand and inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded of product shows that as the price of the good falls, the quantity of demand of the good rises. The law of diminishing marginal utility states that the amount of satisfaction provided by the consumption of every additional unit of a good decrease as we increase the consumption of that good. Okay, for question number 2 is even if the price of good A is high, I will still purchase good A. Okay, based on this graph, if the price of good A is high, percentage of the respondents who agree will still purchasing good A are decreased until 20%. Most of the respondents choose to answer moderate in this question with 53.3%. 20% of the respondents disagree with this question. Most of the respondents also temporized to purchase good A because the price was enlarged, but still have a high percentage of respondents make their decision not to purchase the product differentiated to the percentage of respondents who agree to purchase. The question is if the price of good B rises by 50%, I will purchase good A. Based on this graph, when the price of good AB rises by 50%, almost half of the respondents agree that they will purchase good A, which is 46.7%. The price of related good will cause a change in demand. Good B is a substitute product for good A because these two goods are similar to each other. For example, Coke and Pepsi. Both can be used for the same purpose. For the question number 4 is if my income increases by 50%, I will purchase good A. The direct correlation between income and demand with the result that 40% of the respondents agree and strongly agree that they will purchase good A if their income increased by 50%. When income of consumer escalates, the purchasing power of consumer also expands, assume that all the other things are sustained. Consumer will increase their purchases with their purchasing power rises. Good A is a normal good in which demand rises as the income rises, demand falls as the income falls. The positive relationship between change in income and change in demand is shown. For question number 5, which is if my income increases by 50%, I will purchase both good A and B. Based on this graph, 66.7% of the respondents, the majority agree that they will purchase both good A and good B with their income increased by 50%. The purchasing power of the consumer rises that as the income of consumer rises, consumer will like to add items in their purchasing list to satisfy their utility. Utility is a term in economics that refers to the total satisfaction received from consuming a good or service. Economic theory based on the rational choice usually assume that consumer will strive to maximize their utility. For the conclusion, we had acquired knowledge of theory of consumer choice, which is the study of how people decide to spend their money. We gain understanding of theory consumer demand. We also assimilate the concept of utility, which is the term in economics that refers to the total satisfaction received from consuming a good or service. We had a lot of discussion to make this task a very good answer and understand each other. We learned that to adequately perform our study report, that the cooperation of every member in the group must have in-depth understanding on the task and apprehend the purpose of this report. This is relevant to most of us because most of us are also consumers and we have our own opinion as well. On this account, nothing is survey report is imperative for us as students, since it will help methodically examine all of the issues. Thank you.